What's the most bizarre, uncomfortable, or just downright disturbing video you've ever encountered? Story 1. That one video where a raccoon washes cotton candy in water and it just disappears. The poor little guy looked so confused, and honestly, same. Story 2. Cartel torture, where they skinned his scalp and face, cut a hole in his neck and pulled his tongue through it, Colombian necktie, then opened his rib cage and pulled his beating heart out. Never in my life will I go to South America. Story 3. The one where those jerk Russian brothers beat that homeless woman to passing with a hammer and pop out her eye with a screwdriver. Someone will know what I am talking about. To this day, other than a video involving a kitten and a pair of high heels, that is the only video that still disturbs me that I have ever viewed. Answer: 2 guys. 1 hammer. I thought it was a homeless man too. I could be misremembering. There's also the cartel video of the guy with no hands trying to grab at his face to stop them from cutting. Cartels should have been considered terrorist organizations years ago. It's pretty wild that it took a racist president to do it. Democrats want to talk about how undocumented Latinos are running from cartel violence, but then do nothing to help the Mexican government deal with the problem. It's insanity all the way around. Story 4. I can't even count the amount of horrible deaths I've seen online, but a video that's always stuck with me is this medical case study of a dude in the final stages of rabies. He's got a week or 2 to live at best, and his behavior is just so wrong. Everything down to how he moves and sometimes stares at the camera is just inhuman. You can tell the lights are mostly off in that noggin of his, and even seeing that as a kid, I was left thinking, good God, why don't they just eliminate the poor guy? And the couple flashes of lucidity he has are even worse, because on some level, you can tell he knows how fudge he is. Reminds me of the CWD deer, but freakier. I do not fudge with rabies, no Siri. Had to get the shots before after a dog bite, where I was 99.5 certain it had been vaccinated. But since we couldn't be certain, I was not taking the fudge risk. Story 5. A beheading I was tricked into watching, and I didn't get back online for weeks. Still haven't talked to my friend after 15 years. Answer: someone showed that, or something similar, to me without any preparation or warning about 20 years ago, too. I was repulsed and shocked, but for the next few weeks I just felt really wrong and didn't understand why. Just kept having a sense of uneasiness and anxiety. I thought it might have had to do with the video, but I didn't understand why it would affect me for that long. Story 6. The filmed tragic end of a man with a shotgun, and then his dog walked into the room after edit. His name is Ronnie McNutt. I wasn't 100 sure as I've only seen that video once, and didn't want to chance upon it again. If you're planning on taking a peek, be forewarned. Very gruesome. Story 7. The dashcam video of the family just driving down the road, when suddenly brick falls off from an oncoming truck. You don't see anything except the brick, but the screams as the other 3 people in the car notice a couple seconds later. What happened? It stays with you forever, and I'm certain anyone who has watched it already knew before reading my first sentence till the end. Story 8. Coworker showed me a safety video of some guy getting both arms crushed in what looked like a press for stamped steel parts. He just wanders aimlessly, in shock, arms dangling until someone stops him. He continues to stand there, swaying, bleeding on the floor as people rush around, in and out of frame, presumably getting help. Story 9. I saw the one lunatic one ice pick before the body parts started showing up. Really thought it was fake. Story 10. Tragic end of Ricardo Lopez, Bjork's stalker. shot himself in the head on camera. The blood coming out sounded like a faucet running. Couldn't sleep that night. Story 11. Jesus fudge Christ. Somebody shut down the internet. After reading the comments, I wish my eyes didn't work. Story 12. Guy jumping off from cliff to water down below, hitting his head before landing to water. Next shot, he is in hospital getting to emergency surgery because his head is varically split in half, and he is alive. People say it's two different clips added together, but nonetheless, those images are something I can't unsee. Story 13. There is a recording of a phone call the Golden State Killer made to one of his stalking victims. I watch and read a lot of true crime, watch horror movies, and scroll through the creepy Reddit subs, but nothing has affected me like listening to the GSK call. It is so disturbing. It makes me feel physically anxious with a combination of revulsion and fear. I'm sure there are people who aren't bothered by it, but I am definitely not one of them. Story 14. So on the side of just bizarre, I once saw a video of a lady who poured cake batter in her butthole using a funnel, and then put a whisk in her butt and started whisking. It didn't upset me, it was just weird, and I have questions. Story 15. When I was in middle school, a girl who went to a school a town over filmed herself, giving head to her dog and other nasty shoot, and it was sent around. It's something I wish I was never shown because it really disturbed my young mind. People are sick. Story 16. I was browsing 4chan the other day, casually viewing one of their wrecked threads, until I stumbled upon a cartel video. I think that's the last time I'll be visiting that site. It was basically decapitating a dude with box cutters, slowly over time. But the victim remained conscious pretty much the entire time. Mind you, he already had no hands. EDK, I was there for morbid curiosity, just watching motorcycle wreck footages, elevators in China failing, etc. And then, bam, I scrolled to the cartel video, and it actually really shocked me, even though I felt like I was fully desensitized by browsing. The RWTF subreddit years ago when they allowed anything. Story 17. In grad school, I watched a video of a man who had been bitten by a rabid bat. By the time he got to a clinic, he was way out in the bush. He was symptomatic, which is too late for treatment. The video follows his clinical course: agitation, confusion, hydrophobia, seizures, coma, passing. Horrifying, still haunts me. Story 18. It was a vid on YouTube a long time ago called The Pain Olympics or something similar to that. It was a group of like 3 guys all doing wild stuff like trying to cut one of their faces off, hammering holes in their ears, and all kinds of crazy shoot. Never tried finding it again and never will. Story 19. It wasn't until a few years ago that I watched the news footage from 911. Seeing that plane go into the second tower definitely gave me chills. Story 20. My ex had a gore video on his phone of a person being beheaded with a shovel. He once showed it to me without a warning. Story 21. There was a video where someone kept filming while their house was being destroyed by a tornado. I think it was in Joplin, Missouri. It was pretty disturbing. Story 22. When a video did a hyper-focused microscopic view of different pathogens, diseases, or cells, and slowly zoomed out all the way up to multiverse. Really makes you wonder about life. Story 23. Way back when WorldStar was at its height, there was a video where there were like 3 to 4 soldiers on their knees looking at the camera. Behind each one was a cartel member with saws on their necks. They started sawing. I didn't make it 5 seconds into that video, and it still haunts me to this day. Story 24. Palestinian boy, Prob 10, Pretty much everything below the torso gone, he's severely burned, screaming on an operating table in a guttural gurgle. I think of him often. Story 25. The girl with her limbs blown off hanging off a wall in Gaza. The whole world saw it and the genocide continued. I've lost hope in humanity. Story 26. A woman getting suffocated where a balloon covering her head. I think it was supposed to be some really fudge-up adult content. Story 27. Self-immolation of a guy in the woods. Catching yourself on fire takes a surprising long time to eliminate you. Story 28. The video of that guy shooting his neighbors in the hallway of their apartment building in Flatbush, Brooklyn. I've never gotten that video out of my head. R.I.P. Story 29. Girl laughing as she took kittens out of S-bucket to throw in a river. Few things give me the desire for violence like people hurting innocent creatures. Human children are included. Story 30. I was once scrolling on Twitter, and there was a video of someone attempting to commit tragic end by jumping off a building in the middle of some city. They landed. Most of their bones clearly broke, but they survived and crawled among the innocent bystanders. Story 31. I've seen a lot of sick shoot on the internet over the years, but nothing disturbed me as much as a video of a Ukrainian soldier who was knife fighting a Russian soldier. I've seen people blown to bits on this app, but I've never been more disturbed than that hand-to-hand combat video. Worst part, it's 5 minutes long, and once you start watching it, you can't stop. Story 32. Not a video for me, but real life. 1977. 19-year-old me, working in a corrugated paper factory, saw a summer college kid get his right hand sucked into a paper slitter and cut it in two between the middle and ring finger up to almost the wrist. Ended up losing the ring and pinky finger. Hand was permanently maimed. Still remember him running around screaming. Never had any interest in watching gore videos. Story 33. The most angry I've been was a lady ripping crabs open while they were alive and seeing them flail their limbs about as they got torn apart in obvious agony, and she just kept going. Story 34. Well, I've seen the Russian lathe accident, the Soviet soldier being beheaded by Chechen rebels, the woman being obliterated by a train, the guy getting fudged by a horse, all the combinations of people and cups. The homeless guy with the open head wound who had maggots in his brain. But 30 seconds of pretty much any Trump speech is worse. Story 35. The footage of the 911 incident. Even after all these years, I still get chills watching the people jump out of the building to their passing. Story 36. That cartel video of a man literally skinning a woman to get to the baby inside. It circulated widely during the terrorist of Israel by Hamas, being mistaken for violence there because there were similar reports. It was only a few seconds long, but it destroyed something important deep in my soul. Maybe it was just my belief in humanity. I spiraled for days just trying to figure out how one human being could do something like to another. Story 37. Thankfully, I have never seen it because I forced myself not to even look for it, but the Funky Town video I hear is awful. I can handle a lot, but I can't even handle the song being on because I know the horrible things that happened with that song playing. That is traumatic, considering I haven't even seen it. I've only heard about it and told myself never to watch it. Story 38. One that stuck with me was a video I saw on a gore site. It starts with a puppy in a little shack. Then 3 women walk into the shot and start walking around the puppy. Then they start walking past it and kicking it, not very hard at first, but definitely hard enough that it starts yelping in pain. They slow start kicking it harder and harder until it goes down. That's when they start stepping on it. Again, not stepping on it very hard at first, but slowly they start putting more weight on it. When it lifts up its head, they kick it in the head instead of stepping on it. They kept going until the puppy Wei obviously dead. The video was probably only a couple minutes long, but that was enough. That one stuck with me more than any person dying in a gore video I have seen. It's always the ones with animals that get me. Story 39. The decapitation of that journalist with a knife. He was so stoic and brave. The gurgling and savagery, though, .fck. It made me realize 100 without any shadow of a doubt that man is still an animal. Eliminate for land, food, money, religion. I've tried to imagine knowing him going die and not being able to do anything. Seeing the knife and camera. I can't. I just can't. It's horrible. We are horrible. Story 40. Early 2000s world star. I was shown a video in school by a friend of someone jumping from a skyscraper. I didn't look for much fudge-up shoot after that. Story 41. Seen horrific stuff, beheadings and alike. One even done with a chainsaw where they took the guy's arm off first. The one that sticks with me, though, is a vid of a guy feeding a puppy to a snake. Puppy looked barely 2 weeks old. Snake bites it a couple times, and the puppy's screams will haunt me forever before it cuts to the snake swallowing it whole. Story 42. Pick anything from Gorgrish. Prob is the one where a cartel peels a bloke's head from the back of his neck forward. Give him a Colombian necktie, then cut out his heart, show it's still beating in the hand. Fair play, guy took it like a champ, just asked them not to stand on his chest, with a skinned face. Story 43. When I was a teenager, I went out to California and ended up at a party. My older brother's friends got me really stoned, and then one of them decided it was time to watch Faces of Passing. I watched one clip and decided to go for a long walk outside with my girlfriend. To say it was uncomfortable is the biggest understatement. I cannot unsee that horrendous video. Story 44. The movie Necromantic. I've seen all kind of gore stuff, but that movie, I wasn't even able to finish it. Story 45. The Three Guys One Hammer video and this one 60s or 70s 8mm home movie shot by a Russian child killer. I'm still extremely disturbed by the visuals, despite there being no sound. Story 46. The Buffalo NY Mass Takedown livestream. I didn't watch it live, but just some random 70-something grandma buying groceries and turning the corner around an aisle, and that's the end of her life will always stick. Story 47. Not a video, but an image of a chick that was infected with parasites of some sort. They'd effectively eaten its entire skin, so it was just a beak, and then a vaguely bird-shaped parasite mass. I'm so glad I haven't been exposed to the awful takedown and deaths mentioned in other comments, but it's really stuck with me as a reminder of how cruel nature can be. Story 48. Not a video on the internet in the sense everyone else is talking about, but a passing scene from a film. It's the dance scene from Suspiria. Probably the longest 3 minutes of my life. Story 49. The video of the dude who was obsessed with Bjork, committing tragic end by shooting himself on camera sticks with ya. Story 50. Can't remember who it was exactly, but it was a group of Eastern European soldiers executing another faction of Eastern European soldiers. One tried to run away and gets gunned down, and another gets his throat cut. Story 51. A video of a guy who thought he was going to hook up with another guy. He pulled down his pants and boxers and bent over. The other guy grabbed a fire extinguisher and beat him until he died. I can't find the video anywhere, but it used to be on blood shows. Story 52. Amid all the passing and gore, one of my fave bizarre vids, banana face mask with firecrackers. Just why? Prob SFW, technically. Story 53. Instagram. My friend told me about the account in tears. Cats mutilated, beheaded, gutted, skinned, everything you could imagine and more to torture these poor animals. I stomached the posts to report them all and the account as a whole. I feel ill and nauseous recounting the event. This was years ago, but those images, man, they're burned into my brain. Story 54. Some dude posted a video of someone detonating a bomb in his mouth, exploding his head in my Discord server. I don't know the source of the video, and I don't want to know. Story 55. I once saw a video of a factory warehouse incident. Can't remember what kind of factory, but there was this big, fast-spinning horizontal pipe-looking thing. A man walked up to it, do something, and got sucked into the spinning pipe, essentially disintegrating the whole guy. Some of his body parts flew off and parts of him and his skin were left spinning around the thing. It was absolutely horrible. Story 56. Girl in China got jumped by other girls for apparently sleeping with one of the girl's boyfriend. All of them were in middle school and shoot was so dark, how they brutally beat the girl while she was crying and apologizing. Story 57. In my YouTube favorite list appeared an horror clown video. I don't like clowns and I don't know why a clown video appeared in my favorites. Story 58. I once saw the first 30 seconds of 4 girls finger-a-wainting and then almost throw up. Then I sent the link to all my friends to destroy their peaceful, non-gross day. Story 59. Back in 2045, I saw a video of a woman, Russian, get dragged into a cement room and was kicked by 2 men on the floor until they shot her stomach 2 or 3 times. Story 60. The one kid YouTuber, Blippi or something like that, where he literally has like diarrhea on his friend. Seeing his friend's face just disappoints me. Not as bad of things I've seen on the internet, but YK. Story 61. Years ago, there was a video on the internet of a car in Russia that got wrapped sideways around a pole by a tipsy driver. The car caught on fire and nobody could get out through the doors. The driver got out on fire after some guy stomped on the windshield to break it. I think the news report said he died later. Story 62. IDK where, but I remember 10, 15 years ago, there was a line of people, 3-5 on their knees, and some sort of cartel behind them. They hacked and sawed away until the victims fell apart. I have no idea what it was for about as it was in a different language, but I remember getting off all SM for a few years. Story 63. The one where Afghan or Iraqi cadets, can't remember which, won't look, were being shot in the head and dumped into the river IRC. They were kids at military school when it was overrun by rebels, and they just eliminate them, one after another. Story 64. Tonsillectomy on a child without anesthesia in Belarus. The kid was probably 5 years old. First, they tied his arms and legs to a chair. He started crying, right then asking why they were doing that. The chair is shaking, you'll fall, they said. They put a hood over his eyes because the light is too bright. Lots of screaming and blood. I have seen tons of shock-type videos, but that was the first time I got up and headed to the bathroom to puke. Story 65. My ex once casually showed me CP a coworker of ours had sent her. It went around in this weird group chat our coworker was in that was filled with dark humor. It was the only time I yelled at her, and it still haunts me sometimes. Story 66. Saw a video of a woman get stoned to passing because someone in that village said she burned the Quran. Story 67. You don't want to know? Really? There are a few dozen top contenders, and many were from the Ukraine. Extreme gore, but no match for what proper psychos are capable of. For your own peace of mind, steer clear of these sorts of videos. Don't go looking. Story 68. There's a horrible drone grenade drop video from the war in Ukraine, where the guy gets split open and the drone drops lower, and you can still visibly see the guy's heart beating despite the top half of his body being ripped off by the grenade. Fudge haunting. Story 69. One man, one jar. I saw it in The Gauntlet years ago. Don't watch it if you're eating something or want to sleep well tonight. Story 70. A straight truck running over a man on a moped. He was mangled. It was a horrible sight I didn't mean to see. Story 71. Somebody on Reddit sent me the most disgusting video I have ever seen. It beats one guy, one jar, or two girls, one cup by far. So I clicked the link, and there was a video of a man with a screwdriver jammed up his urethra, and he was pulling it out by the handle, and blood oozed out in pools into a bathtub filling it. It was horrifying. Story 72. There was a video that got posted all over Reddit a few years ago of a couple harassing their neighbor by shoveling snow onto his driveway. Neighbor comes out of his house and starts arguing with them, and then pulls a handgun and shoots both of them. The woman survives the initial attack and continues yelling at the shooter while her husband lays dead just off camera. The video was posted in a bunch of subs with misleading titles, so I wasn't expecting to watch people get taken down that morning. But the part that most disturbed me is that the shooter, after eliminating the husband and wounding, the wife goes back into his house for several minutes and then returns with a second gun to finish the wife off. On some level, I can understand the rage the shooter was feeling in the initial moment, but something about the fact that he spent multiple minutes going back into his house and grabbing another weapon really shakes me. Story 73. The ad that was black screen with George Floyd's last words back in 2020, not as disturbing as others. Since I avoid the shock sites, this one was on public TV, and you really couldn't avoid it unless you turned off the TV or used another device like an Xbox PlayStation. Story 74. Buchenwald-Dachau concentration camps after liberation. You're warned. NSFW, R-rated, and every other possible for adults only. Story 75. I saw a video of a reversing truck. A toddler stepped behind the back wheels and it was run over feet first. His head poked like an overfilled water balloon as all the blood was squeezed into its head. Story 76. The video of Hamas burning Jewish babies alive in their cribs. That still makes me sick. No wonder Israel went to war with them. Story 77. There's a video of a man smashing severed human heads to declutter his human dismemberment workstation, and he's just doing it like he's working at a Lay's factory or something. Maybe it was fake. Saw it on LiveLeak years back. Story 78. I can't say exactly which one. Probably some Chinese industrial accident or some dude who got his kappa detained by ISIS. Definitely something on 4chan.